So I'm gonna be honest, this one stayed in the awkward and ugly phase for a really long time. I almost gave up on it. I promise it really turns around, quite suddenly actually, and I think you're gonna love it. Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. Today we're playing around with the official March 2020 Colors of the Month, as selected by Marker Universe, aka Imagination International Inc., aka the people who used to run the Copic Colors Challenge back when Copic still had middleman distributors, and these guys were it for North America. If you take a look around social media, really any social media, but particularly Instagram, you can find hundreds upon hundreds of artists doing all sorts of really interesting things with the month's challenge colors if you look up the hashtag Colors of the Month. Someone actually featured my February piece last week, along with a few others, which was really cool. Sometimes the actual Marker Universe account features my stuff, but that was the first time I had another account pick it up. This month's colors feature a light purple, a medium blue, and a lime green. The officially suggested Copic marker shades are FV02 Fluorescent Dull Violet, B06 Peacock Blue, and YG03 Yellow Green. Of course, Marker Universe does make color suggestions for all the brands they sell, and they encourage color matching digitally and with other traditional mediums as well. I'll run through the other marker options here in the video and in the description box down below, and I'll put the hex codes down there as well. One of these days I think it would be really cool to try doing this challenge in another medium, but I'm not sure. My favorites besides alcohol markers are watercolors and similar water-soluble media, and colored pencils. Colored pencils would probably be the easiest because obviously I have way more pre-made colors to choose from, but it would also take a lot longer. Pencil is a slow medium. Watercolor would be faster, but I would probably have to mix colors, and that can get potentially accidentally cheaty because if I don't mix enough of a color, then I'll never mix it exactly the same again when I make more, so it may not really look like just 3 colors. Whatever. If I go with watercolor, then I guess that's the nature of the beast. Let me know in the comments down below what you think I should do to switch things up with this challenge. Theoretically, I could also go digital. I do have a screen tablet now, and I'm starting to get used to it. You'll start to at least see line art I've drawn digitally, even if I move to a traditional medium. I've got a collab coming up with Draw Art Lab where we're swapping line art, and I drew my piece for her to finish digitally. It's detailed and the canvas size is a proper A4 paper size, but dang, it took me forever. There's definitely a learning curve there. Anyway, marker talk. I ended up going with Winsor Newton brush marker V626 Amethyst for the purple, Spectra Ad 39 True Blue for the blue, and Ohuhu GY4 Yellow Green for the lime green. I actually do own a Copic YG03 Yellow Green, but it desperately needs more ink and I don't currently have a refill. I considered using YG11 Mini Net, but it's not as close a match as the Ohuhu Yellow Green. Black and white are allowed in the challenge in addition to the 3 official colors, so I will be using those. I don't always, but this time I will. I'm using Copic 100 Black and a Sakura Jelly Roll white gel pen in size 10 bold, which is a 1mm ball nib. The paper is uncoated Copic marker paper, and this little coil-bound pad came in a sketch box back in 2018. If you've been around here for a while, you've probably seen me use it before. Depending on how much I've decided to speed up the footage to fit with the length of my voiceover file, you may or may not still be wondering what the heck I'm doing in this piece. I decided to pull up a Google image search results page full of really colorful, enhanced Milky Way night sky pictures, and I tried to interpret that with these colors. I was going for really light, loose strokes, and I was thinking it would be nice to have the bright pale green in the center fade out to purple and then blue. Of course, this immediately created problems when I tried to blend the purple into the green, because guess what? That's what happens when you willy-nilly blend non-complementary colors together. We've got this cool-toned pale green, which is a secondary color involving a cool blue, and this lovely light warm purple, which is also a secondary color, this time involving a warm blue and a red. Red and green are complementary and can be used to darken one another, but when you mix warm and cool complementaries, they create a new color, usually a muddy brown. Now we're blending a warm purple with a cool green. We get brown. Who would have guessed? But don't worry, it really does start to improve. Particularly when I start getting that blue involved. It makes such a nice medium green over the light green, and it does lovely things with the purple as well. The benefit to these being alcohol-based inks and this paper being formulated for alcohol ink is that you can go back in and layer a lot. To an extent, working with markers is a lot like watercolors in that you should work from light to dark and try to preserve the white of the paper where you want translucent effects and large white areas, but one way alcohol ink really differs is that when you layer in enough, the alcohol starts to push the other layers out of the way, so you can correct to an extent, and you'll see that happening when I bring the light green and the purple back into spots where I really blended and darkened earlier. So let's take a minute to run through the other officially suggested colors for the other brands Marker Universe deals with. For the purple, Caran Brush Marker Pro 247 Pale Violet, Krink Purple, Graphite 6140 Lavender, Graph O 6175 Amethyst, Sakura Koi Light Purple, Winsor Newton Watercolor Marker 231 Dioxazine Violet, Winsor Newton Pro Marker 542 Purple, Chameleon V04 Deep Violet, and Tombow Dual Brush Pen 606 Violet. For the blue, Caran Brush Marker Pro 207 Cyan, Krink Blue, Graphite 7450 Cyan, Grapho 7150 Cyan, Sakura Koi Cerulean Blue, Winsor Newton Watercolor Marker 541 Prussian Blue, Winsor Newton Pro Marker 355 French Navy, Chameleon BV4 Blue Violet, and Tombow Dual Brush Pen 476 Cyan. For the lime green, Caran Brush Marker Pro 071 Lime Green, Krink Yellow Green, Graphite 8220 Pistachio, Grapho 8250 Anise, Sakura Koi Ice Green, Winsor Newton Watercolor Marker 599 Sap Green, Winsor Newton Pro Marker 341 Leaf Green, Chameleon YG3 Spring Meadow, and Tombow Dual Brush Pen 195 Light Green. I'm predicting that about now you're seeing the black marker in action, and I'm probably working on trees. I felt a bit like Bob Ross working on those happy trees. Once I'm done with the black marker, I brought out the white gel pen to add in some stars. They didn't look like much on the recording screen, so you'll see me going back over a few to make them bigger. Hopefully they come through in the actual footage, but if not, I promise I was putting in stars. This piece was a lot of fun for me, despite my fears early on that it was unsalvageable. This is not at all my usual style for markers. It felt a lot more like trying to do an abstract painting, but with markers, and then pulling it back into the realm of illustration with those tree silhouettes. If you're feeling bored or uninspired with your artwork, I absolutely recommend trying a different style like this. It can be your project for the day if you want it to, or it can just be a warm-up. The real-time footage for this piece is only 32 minutes, and I wasn't rushing at all, nor did I have much of a plan going into it. It's a small piece too. The pad is only A6. It was also really interesting to make these three different marker brands work together. If you've seen any of my older marker review videos, you'll know Winsor Newton and Spectrum Noir markers seem to have either a different alcohol base or more alcohol to them because they do odd things when overlapping with the other brands. I didn't encounter that problem where I didn't want it to occur this time, and that's probably because I used the blue to control this piece, and it's definitely a darker, more saturated shade, but I was able to use it to my advantage, putting bright purple streaks back in as I worked. Once again, let me know if you'd like to see me tackle one of the future Colors of the Month challenges in an entirely different medium, and if so, let me know what that medium should be. Thursday's video is going to be the first in a month-long series of collab videos I'm doing with Weblight Dreams, and we're calling it March Fandom Mayhem. We'll be taking suggestions for different fandoms we should draw, and we also want to feature your fan art from whichever fandoms you enjoy. Leave comments to give us suggestions, and use the hashtag MarchFandomMayhem to share your fan art with us for a chance to be featured. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, don't forget, I'm planning to host an international art supply giveaway once I qualify for the YouTube Partner Program, so subscribe if you want to be eligible. Here are some great video suggestions you can watch right now while you wait on the left-hand side of your screen, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye guys!